What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I really appreciate your time, so thank you for that. Today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the show one of the most established agents in not only the UK, but also the world, Miss Mildred Yuan. And I have got that name right. I clarified just before I came on, so I haven't made that mistake again. So let's take a moment to introduce Mildred. Some of you may know her from United Agents, but at the turn of this year, she has gone independent and set up her own company. We'll discuss more about that in a minute. But Mildred represents some of the world's leading performers and creatives. She helps clients find their superpower and offers excellent guidance for them to take control of their careers. Her specialty is finding talents that excels in more areas than one, helping them to identify and develop transferable skills for what they want and want to achieve next. Alongside being an agent, some of you might not know, she's also lived a secret double life as a professional ballroom dancer and has represented the UK in 7 world and European championships, having trained at the Ballet Austin Academy and the Team Diablo Academy in Italy, the elite training center for ballroom and Latin dancing, the words on the street. Before joining United Agents in 2012, she was a management consultant where she would advise the top FTSE 150 brands across the range of industries. She holds a BA in economics from Harvard and an MA in English literature in Cambridge. She's also a full member of BAFTA and is also on the PMA and the Diverse Squad, also known as the Racial Diversity Committee. So, is there anything you can't do, Mildred?
Oh, we talked about this before. Can't sing a note. I leave that to my clients. They're much more talented. So finding my superpower, singing isn't one of them, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, exactly. We can't do everything, can we?
No.
Fantastic. Just before we jump into the starter question today, I noticed that you went to Harvard, which is a lot of people want to get into that school, and so many people, we see drama after drama of people wanting to get there. But you lived the Harvard life. What was that? What was it like?
Oh God, when you're there, it feels like really normal. And then when you look back on it later in life, because I think I graduated 2004, so it'll be my 20th year reunion this year. You look back on it, you're like, actually, that wasn't very normal, was it? 'Cause, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. I still have a lot of friends that I have from that era that are like my best friends. And now that we're all in our 40s, we look back on that time, we're like, do you remember when we were young and stupid in 20? Why did we do that? But of course, Facebook was just getting started then, and we didn't really
Yeah,
have social media. So a lot of the stupid stuff we did back then wasn't really recorded, which
yeah,
I'm thankful for.
yeah. It's like it never happened. It's like it never happened. Sadly for me, that was my generation, and everything has been recorded. So I need to go back through that and delete everything. But nothing seedy, guys. It's all good. And just quickly, tell me about your time at Cambridge as well, because you've just gone back to Cambridge to start a new course as well. So this would be your second outing at Cambridge.
Yeah, so after I finished up at Harvard, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And one of the things I did feel like I wanted to do more was just study English. And so I got an offer from St. Edmund's College in Cambridge. And I was like, well, yeah, I could do another 2 years. And so I had a great time there. Very grateful for that. But then after that, I was like, okay, I definitely have racked up enough student debt now. I need to start working. But yeah, so today I've started the a DEI diversity, equity, and inclusion business impact course at the Judge Business School at Cambridge. And yeah, just met all my classmates earlier today, and really excited about it. But it has been 18 years
Mhm.
since I've been in a classroom. So I'm really looking forward to learning about what I don't know.
Yeah. What made you want to go back and study again? Why this particular course?
Well, I think because I have been so involved with diversity work in the industry and I see how much work there is to be done, I think one of the things that is really important to me is to learn from other industries and learn
Mhm.
from the experts. And so when I saw that they were doing this course, I thought, well, this is a great opportunity. I can go back, learn some useful things, put it into practice. And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. We await the final details in due course. So let's talk about some of your work as an agent. Obviously, you were with United Agents from 2012 up until recently. But before we get into the stories, the in and outs of working with agents, where did it all come from for you? The love of this, of being an agent, of being in this business. Where did it all start for you?
Well, like many of us, I was a performer, I was a dancer,
Hmm.
and my coach at Team Diablo in Italy, I was a ballroom dancer at the time. He has been instrumental in my personal growth as well as the way I think about talent management. Because one of the things he was really expert at was looking at a couple or looking at a dancer and being like, this is what you're really good at. He never wasted his time advising us on how we could be better at the things we were really bad at, because he was like, no, everyone's unique. You know, you need to really focus on the things you could really excel at.
Mm.
And we were having one of these conversations one day, and he said, you know what? One of the things you're really good at is being organized and bossy. You'd be really good at organizing the other dancers in the club. And I think what
Right.
he was describing to me, because in the ballroom dancing world, until recently with Strictly, but inside the pure ballroom dancing world with competitions, agents don't really exist. But what he was describing was this like agent and manager role. And he was like, well, then you would negotiate the money and you would do the contracts, you'd like tell them where they were going, and he'd be like, you'd be really good at that. And it was kind of this like prescient present moment where he just saw me and he was like, you probably won't be a world champion dancer, but you know what? 99% of us won't be. And you need to find the thing that you are going to be the best at. And he was like, I don't know, I
Mm.
see this for you. And I will be forever grateful to him, because that was definitely a moment, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what's he talking about? But then it did start to make sense. And I did end up going down that road.
Mm.
And it's and one of my Team Diablo colleagues, Joanne Clifton, was my very first client. And she went on Strictly, I think 2014, 2013, won it in 2017,
Hmm.
and is now a very successful musical theater actress. She's currently Princess Fiona in Shrek. Shout
Wow.
out to her.
Shout.
Um, yeah, but it's transitions are funny, aren't they, in
Mm.
life? But for me, that was the beginning.
Amazing. So, if you had your time again, the ballroom dancing thing, and that offer came in, so you weren't in the 99%, you were in that 1%. Do you think you would have taken it and gone ballroom dancing full time?
I mean, different lives come for us, and you can only play the cards that you're dealt.
Of course.
But you know what? I'm very happy with the cards that I've been dealt, because
Oh, of
I can
course.
I can see the impact I make on my clients and on the industry. And I couldn't have told you when I was young and stupid at 20, this is how my life would have ended up. But I think even if I had told someone had told me, I don't think I would have believed them.
Mm. I mean, thank God for it. Thank God for that change. But so let's jump into your work as an agent. I mentioned United there. I suppose a lot of people think, it's just you get an agent, and so well, what do they do? A lot of questions I get is, so when you get an agent, so what do you do? Do you just sit down and they get the jobs for you? Do you contact them? Was like, well, what do you do? And so that's my next question. What do you do as an agent?
Every agent is different. I'll say that from the off.
Of course.
And agents, like actors, like creatives, um, they also all have their own strengths and the way they work. For me, the most important thing for me is to be a trusted advisor
Hmm.
and to give my clients the absolute best advice
Yeah.
and empower them to take control of their careers and make it what they want it to be, and not sit back and go, oh gosh, I don't really know what's going on. Like, there are an awful lot of things we can't choose in this industry. That is
Mm.
true. But the things that you can choose and the things that you do choose to highlight about yourself and your career and that you choose to shout about, you can choose those things.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm about.
Yeah. So when you get someone applied to you for the first time, obviously nowadays, it's, I remember, you watch dramas like Friends and stuff like that. Joey's got a CV like printed out with all of his credits on the back. Whereas it's very different now. It's like you submit emails, you go through Spotlight and stuff like that. So the first thing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong about any of these details, is that I was told that the agent, the first thing that they see is the headshot. And that is kind of the first inkling to think, okay, that person's look, can I take them on or not? Am I in the right lines there?
Well, actually, nowadays with email or how
Yeah.
it works on my website where you have to like type in a box and then it emails me, it's the
Mhm.
email.
Right.
Yeah. And some people, it's so funny. They email me asking me for rep and then they don't include a link to their spotlight or anything else. And I'm
Right.
like, well, all I have is this email. So kids, newsflash, always include your spotlight link if you're an actor,
Hmm.
include a CV and show reel if you are a creative. And then, I always try to give everything a fair shot and I have a look at what they send me.
Mm.
But yes, you're right. Once you click on the spotlight link, the first thing that comes up is the headshot.
Yeah. So what's the key to writing a great email, an email that catches your attention? Because, another thing that agents say is that they're inundated with emails all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What's the best way, in your opinion, to construct an email that gets your attention and say, right, I want to get in contact with this person and I feel I can offer them rep?
I think people always stress way too much about this. Like your work should speak for itself because that's what we are looking at,
Mm.
ideally. Keep it short, say what you want, how you think this could work, and then just give me the spotlight link so I can have a look at it
Yeah.
and give me any show reels that you have. I think people really overcomplicate things.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I think I did a webinar for Spotlight a few years ago with my great collaborator, Sam Houghton, who he's a manager as well as being an actor himself. And one of the things that came out of the webinar when we were talking to people about, we're like, just be normal,
Yeah.
be normal. And actually, I know that sounds really flippant, but that's one of the hardest things to do.
Oh, yeah.
I do get it.
Yeah. I think essentially it's just be yourself and
Mm.
just enjoy and just be open about what you want. It's funny because we spoke a few weeks ago about today, and one of the things we talked about was how sometimes you get emails from people, and going off what you said there is just be normal, just be yourself. But you told me a story that you got someone emailed you for rep, and you got in touch with them, and you said to them, "What do you want?" And you said, I'm sorry, and they said, "Oh, I just maybe Andrew Scott. That's all I want." It's like, no, that's the wrong answer, isn't it?
Well, it goes back to the thing I was talking about with leaning into your strengths. Andrew Scott's already taken.
Exactly.
Um, so be you, be the best version of you. He's the best version of himself.
Mm,
So be the best version of yourself.
exactly. So when you're talking with people, again, going back to something you mentioned earlier about realistic expectations, in a way, because I can imagine you've probably had clients come to you saying, "Oh, that role, I want to play that role. That's so me." But you've looked at them and gone, and correct me if I'm wrong, but have you just gone, "No, that's not you. That's not something you should be fighting for because it's not your casting." Is that something you've had to do before?
Well, I don't see it that way because I normally go, okay, what are you interested to do? What are you dreaming about doing? And
Hmm.
that can be a very separate conversation from what will you actually do? And sometimes having a brainstorm is a really good idea. Um, and I think it is about matching up your strengths with the opportunities, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there are also part of it is also about appreciation of the rest of the industry, right? You can really admire different roles that other people have done or are doing
Hmm.
without needing to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's also really important part of collaborating in the industry. Knowing and looking at other people's work and being like, well, I couldn't play that role. They did a good job in that. What particularly did I like about it?
I think also there's I think something that was mentioned the other day was about how, respect for other people in this business goes a long way as well. Because I feel like there's a lot of selfishness sometimes with this industry. A lot of people are kind of, they think for themselves a lot of the time. And then in this, when someone is more successful, it's almost like, I want to be that person. But so there's a sense of jealousy in many ways. But I think one thing that should be celebrated and actually makes that person be celebrated as well is you celebrating other people's success, and other people's, they've got that part which they're really happy with, and ultimately that reflects much better on you because you're supporting that person and therefore building that community in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you try and do that? Because you're an actor as well.
I
Like,
am.
can you think of times when you've done that in the past?
Oh yeah, of course. I see people get up and do monologues, and I'm sat there going, "Wow." So why can't I do that? And it's like, but then, it's about drama school. But one thing I do like to do actually is when I go to the theatre and I see something I really, really, really love, I think to myself afterwards, okay, what was it about that I really loved? What
Mm,
was it about that person's technique? And more times out of 10, it's simply because I looked at this person and I knew they were telling the truth. They were telling the truth of that character. And ultimately, one thing I've also learned is that, even if you're playing a narcissist or a psychopath or someone who's just so evil or sociopathic or whatever, shows no empathy to other people, but yet even in them, they have a truth. Even they think that they are fighting for something
mm,
that they believe is the truth. And even if it's on to anybody else, it's absolutely disgusting. But to them, it's like, what are you talking about? I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. And also, I think it's the relaxation more than anything, because that's a big, big word in my training. It's just relax,
yeah.
relax. It's absolutely fine. You're not working down a coal mine. You're not doing it. You're not on a live wire from across Manhattan or whatever. You're absolutely fine. And so I appreciate that. And yeah, of course, if I'm being totally honest, yes, I have been jealous in my time, but I've known not to do that. And actually celebrating other people is the key to making things better, and of course make things better for yourself as well, because if you're happy for yourself, for others, then you can be happy in yourself. So yeah, does that make sense? I think I rambled on a bit there.
No, it's very, very interesting.
Mm.
And with the jealousy point, I'm always curious, like, how do you move yourself from the envy to a point of where you can be okay with like celebrating other people's success? Like, from your perspective, like how in times you have done that, how have you gotten there?
I think ultimately, I tell you what, there was one moment which I remember with a slightly different context, but I remember seeing someone do this piece, and it was just, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like a piece about, oh no, hang on, yeah, I beg your pardon. So someone did a drama school, someone did a monologue in our screen class, and it was a really, really simple piece. It was about someone just being the voice of a robot, like a Siri or something like that for this drama. And the way that this girl did it was so simple and just so brilliant. And a part of me is going, God, why didn't I pick that? But then I thought to myself, hang on a sec. So if I celebrate her, then that's her moment. That's, and she deserves it. Of course she does. And so by you putting out good things, then good things will come back on you as well.
Mm,
And that's one thing I've learned is that, if you put out, karma has a very good way of doing things. What you get, is what you receive, what you put out in a
mm,
way. And also one thing that I remember thinking was, yeah, she's got her moment there and she absolutely deserves it. But that's not to say that I don't have a moment like that in the future. So
yeah.
if I put out good things, then good things will come back to me. And if you put out bad things, then it speaks it speaks for itself. But yeah, that was definitely one moment. Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Um, I don't know. It's never been a part of my vocabulary because
That's a
if
good
I
thing.
could have everyone succeed, I would. And I think this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about the diversity, equity, inclusion piece. If I could have it so that everyone got the chance to be the best that they could be and
Mm,
get the opportunities, everyone could get the same opportunities, I would definitely, if I could wave that magic wand, I
Hmm.
would, because yeah, I just feel like having a growth mindset where more people are happy and content and have good experiences in life that they remember, like with fondness, that's the best thing you can do in terms of impact on life.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, and I think another thing to that is that this is the key to everything. Is mentality. Mentality is everything in this business, and of course, in life in general. You know, it's important to keep a positive mindset and just to keep going forward with that. I tell you what, I'll tell you another example. I remember my brother was we both went to GSA, the same drama school, and he was part of the football team. I remember once he got the ball and he actually scored a goal, and the entire team just ran up to him and just like run, just like hugging him, pushing him around and all that kind of thing, and everyone from the crowd ran on and everything. And I won't lie, I'll be perfectly honest, there's a bit of brotherly jealousy in that, going, I want that moment, I want all that glory, of course I do. But then again, it was like, and that was the moment actually my brain said, yeah, well, your brother's having a great moment, just let him enjoy it. Of course, he's just scored a goal, for goodness sake. But
Yeah.
and I thought, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's not to say that good things will come back on you in the future. You'll have that moment where everyone's jumping around you and screaming your name and all that kind of thing. So again, positive things all the time going forward in everything, and even during the bad times as well. You know, you've got to keep strong and keep that mentality in a way. And yeah, let's go. This is turning into a motivational speech at the moment. This is great. But I tell you, it's really good. So that sort of brings me on to this one topic I want to talk about today, is the kind of the do's and don'ts of the
Mhm.
client and agent relationship. Um, and I'm going to start by asking you, what has been some of the craziest stories that you've had with your clients? Because there's a side to being an agent which I think not a lot of people know about, is the sometimes agents can be not hung out to dry in a way, because that's the wrong way of saying it, but there can be tensions between clients and agents in a way,
Mhm.
and some unfair things can be said. So tell me a bit more about that.
Well, one of the great things about being an agent is vicariously, you just like you hear so many stories and you
Of
get to be
course.
part of so many experiences. But of course, not all those experiences are great. And sometimes I've been in the position of feeling actually quite powerless
Okay.
to help people. And I think one of the major things that has absolutely just stunned me has been like the lack of equal hair and makeup provision for like non-white actors and people
Yeah.
with ethnic hair. And it'll be things where a lot of people might not really think about it, but then I'll hear stories where clients, they'll call me up, and a lot of my clients also, by the time they call me up, I know they'll have been trying to resolve this problem themselves for a very long time. And um, and I'll hear things that I can't quite believe it because I've heard so many of them.
Mm.
It's a little bit awful, you know.
Yeah.
Someone who's like, oh, the person doing my hair said to me, well, you have very unusual hair, don't you? I don't know if we're ever going to be able to control it. Didn't have a plan. Um,
Mm.
she has afro hair, and so they're, well, I'll just put some water on it and it'll be fine.
Right.
And there was no plan, there was nothing in place. I've had clients show up where they went to do their makeup. There wasn't a plan, and they go, "Oh, we don't have your color." And my client had to pull their own makeup out of their bag and just go, "That's fine, I've got it." And as you know, with my work on the diverse squad as well, I also hear lots of other people's stories from other
Mm.
clients.
Mm.
One of the ones that horrified me the absolute most was when someone showed up on set. They didn't have the makeup colors for the darker skin tones, and the makeup artist said, "Don't worry, we have some Cadbury's hot chocolate powder. We'll put that on your face." And it's these things sometimes where you go, it shouldn't happen. You're the agent. This
Mm.
is between an employer and the actor, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Mm,
And, I've always just thought, well, fine. I'll just have a conversation
yeah,
because often a lot of times when you are in the position of being that actor, by the time you've told your agent, um,
yeah,
you've already been dealing with it for quite a long time and you've been trying to be polite, you've been trying to, you know, be non-confrontational.
yeah.
And sometimes you just really need someone to go in and just go, look, I'm a third party. What's going on with this? How are we going to fix it? And I've gotten a range of reactions, and there's been everything from, oh gosh, so sorry. How do we fix this? Let's do something let's do something straight away. What do you suggest?
Hmm.
To absolute just defensiveness. Oh, well, that didn't happen. Are you sure your client isn't lying? Um, and it's these sorts of stories where as an agent, I'm just like, why are any of us dealing with this?
Yeah,
Why am I dealing with it? Why are you, the client, put in a position where you have to deal with this? You should be showing up to work, and part of your work, should have everyone should know what they're doing. Surely they've looked at your headshot ahead of time. You've ideally had a makeup consultation.
hmm,
Everyone knows what colors are needed, what equipment is needed. You show up, they do your hair and makeup, and then you go to work as your best self. And that's not something you need to worry about. And, I've other clients where that's not been the case. They've gone for their makeup test and things haven't worked out. So they've gone, oh, well, don't worry about it. I'll just spend 3 to 5 hours doing my own hair, makeup, and I'll show up ready.
wow,
But their Caucasian or white counterparts don't have to do that. They don't have to do their own labor that's unpaid before they even get on set. So that means they're getting less sleep.
yep,
They have less time to learn their lines. They have less time to do everything else. And it's those situations where as an agent, I'm just like, oh, that shouldn't happen.
yeah. I mean, how do you deal with those situations? What can you do?
I mean, so the diverse squad, we're trying our best. Like, I mean, one of the first things we did a survey in collaboration with the Lenny Henry Media Center at Birmingham University, and we surveyed 1,300 non-white actors, and 71% of them, unsurprisingly, from these stories,
Hmm.
have had a problem with hair and makeup on set.
Yeah,
And that's an astounding number, 71%. It's not even like a significant uh minority. It's over half and significantly over half. And we were like, what do we have to do something about this? This can't be the case.
mm,
And so one of the things that the PMA has been doing is we've been talking about, okay, contracts. We can look at this from a contractual point of view. We're agents. So in we're going to ask for equal hair and makeup provision in the cans and in the long form agreements where it says equal hair and makeup provision must be provided to everyone, regardless of skin tone, regardless of your what sort of hair you have. And if that's not able to be provided on set, then production should pay for it.
hmm,
And so you can get at it contractually. And actually, the latest SAG strikes, one of the things they got in over in America was a version of this clause.
hmm,
So you can look at it contractually, but then the other thing we looked at is we're like, okay, we get it. If you look at it from the production's point of view, getting all the colors is really expensive. And also, how are
mm,
you supposed to know? So we're like, okay, so we need to look at the process. Part of the process in that clause is everyone gets a hair and makeup consultation. So everyone's prepared.
hmm,
You've looked at it, you've thought about it, there's a plan. But then we're like, well, what about the actual stuff? So we got together the Diverse Squad with MAC Cosmetics, the global makeup brand, and Spotlight, the casting platform.
hmm,
And we launched this inclusive complexion edit with MAC Cosmetics. And basically, it is for productions that don't know, you can buy a collection of all the colors. They have the most colors of any makeup brand. Um, And Mac have been very generous, and they're going to be giving any productions and professionals that go to get those products a very generous 35% discount.
Mm.
Actors who are Spotlight members get a 25% discount as part of this
Great.
scheme. But we also recognize not everyone wants to use Mac, okay? That might not be your brand. And it's not really about the brand. It's about being prepared and having this stuff.
Mm.
So one of the things that's going to be rolling out with Spotlight alongside the heritage and ethnicity feature is that you're going to be able to put your MAC or equivalent foundation shade on your Spotlight profile. And currently, you can already do this in Tagmin. So if your agent has Tagmin, they can input what your shade is, and that way that's stored with your other information that goes out with the casting advice notice, and everyone knows and is prepared and can have your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just also want to say, like, none of this stuff works if not everyone participates. So I'm not only talking to non-white actors. Whatever your skin tone is, help us. Help us by participating. Go to any Mac outlet, any shop. They will do it for you for free. They will color match you. They will give you your foundation shade. Call up your agent or email them and go, this is my shade. Could you put it in the Tagmin box? And when the Spotlight box becomes available, I'm going to have it on my profile, because that's normalizing it. That's normalizing it for everyone. And it's normalizing how we're going to deal with this in the future.
Mm. Fantastic. That's brilliant. And I think I never thought about that before. Yeah, hair and makeup being this huge thing, because my limited experience of it is a bit of, I remember did a job where just a little bit of foundation to cover up the panda eyes and everything, and just a little bit just kind of zhushed me up a little bit, but that was it really. But no, I never knew that something like that could run so deep in a way. And and like you said earlier about that outrageous comment, we've got some hot chocolate powder. I mean, I can't even fathom how that person would have felt, because I'm just completely lost for words. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's horrendous. I mean, there's not a word I can think of really. But when situations like that do happen, and your client, well, if it was one of your clients, does ring you up and says, look, this person said this outrageous thing to me, and you're able to prove it in a way like witnesses or or footage or whatever, what would be the next steps? Would it not only would that client, when potentially they could leave the job, but then what further action could they take to sort of make sure that this person is punished in a way?
I don't think it's so much about that, because in a way, what we want is for people to change behavior.
Yeah.
And punishment doesn't always do that.
Mm.
And it's about motivating people to change in the right way. And I think a lot of it is about voting with our feet, because if it's just me shouting about it or just you, that doesn't really work.
Mm.
And I think it's about, so in those situations, often equity gets involved. They're really good.
Yeah.
The equalities officer there usually, they always say, having a confidential conversation with equity when you're a member, even if you decide not to take it forward or do anything about it, but they can give you completely confidential advice. And if you give your agent permission, we can be part of that conversation. That's always worth it. And also, because they are your union, if they hear more of these stories, they can change it, because
Mm.
they'll go, so many of our members, we've had this happen.
Mm.
This needs to change. And yeah, the hair and makeup clause we have been talking about, we have been working with equity on that, because of course the pact equity contracts are coming up for renewal.
Mm.
So we are very much hoping that we will be successful in getting that into the new contracts, same as in the US with SAG. So yeah, I would say to people, get involved, vote with your feet, go to a Mac store, get your foundation shade, get it
Yeah.
put into Tagmin. Ask about the hair and makeup clause in the contract, because everyone should have it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about, and I have to give my wonderful former assistant, Charlotte Edwards, credit for this. She was like, no, I think I'm going to start asking for this clause for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
because again, it's normalizing it. If there's going to be hair and makeup, equal hair and makeup provision for everyone, and you stop thinking about it and you go, yes, of course, that's where we need to be.
Mhm.
So everyone vote with your feet is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Oh yeah, and of course that's another lead into agents talk to each other. It doesn't matter whether we're United, Independent, or Curtis Brown or whatever. You're all in the same circle on this. You all share the same stories. You'll have the same uh, things to discuss, and you work together on those things. You mentioned there about contracts in a way. Obviously, you mentioned the hair and makeup thing, and I think it's great that we've really highlighted that today. So when something comes up in a contract that your client is not happy with, I can't really think of any specific details, but what's the best way of sort of negotiating that with the studio or with the whoever's in charge of the project?
I think any negotiation is a conversation,
Mm,
and it's about a bit of give and take and talking to the client about what they want, how much it matters to them,
hmm
what they're willing to give up for it. And then this talking to the producer on the other side as well. In 90% of cases, I would say that most things, if when there's a good dialogue and a productive one, you are able to reach some sort of compromise where people are happier with it than with the original. And that's always my goal.
Yeah.
Have we moved the dial a bit? No one's ever going to be 100% happy on either side, but that's just what compromise is about. And if you're going
Mm.
to work with other people, that's just how it works.
That's how it works. That's how it works. I think listening to you there really highlights the. I mean, one thing I really want to explore with you today is like the side of the job as an agent, which a lot of us don't necessarily know more about and don't necessarily see. And the fact that you're doing all this hard work behind the scenes, just for this, people think, oh, it's just hair and makeup, but it goes a lot deeper than that and much more other things as well. It really highlights the hard work that you do in a way, which is really, really good. One thing we spoke about before, which was, sometimes we get those. I'd love to hear your stories about this, about the clients who you know, sadly don't treat their agents with a lot of respect in a way. And
Mm.
sadly, there is a lot of that in the business. And when you hear these stories about, someone like me who's on the agent round right now, contacting people, and you want to treat these guys with the utmost respect, and you want to because you're hearing all the work that they do and the amount of emails that they get. But yeah, I'm just going to preface this before I get move to yourself. There's a story. I told you this a few weeks ago, actually, but there's a story on my previous podcasts where a client rang up her agent who was pregnant at the time with one of her kids, and this guy said, "Oh, I've just heard that you're pregnant," and the agent said, "Yeah," and hmm, well, I guess that means you're going to spend more time with your kid than you are with your clients, and it's like what did why would you say something like that? It's outrageous. Your agent is a human being as well. I mean, and I remember telling you that story, and you're remarkably calm and just a bit like, yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, but what I mean, does that
I think,
happen?
yeah, I mean, I've heard stories like that. And like, you're always, look, in a population of people, you're always going to get some nuts, aren't you?
Hmm.
But that's not going to reflect on the rest of us who are like trying to do the right thing. And I just think as long as we remember that we're all human and we're all trying our best
Mm,
in this industry, um, that that's really the most important thing. But also, I think a lot of these stories, when you hear about it, you just go, not, oh God, how terrible. One of the things that pops up in my mind is just like, God, that actor, they must depend on their agent for everything and
mm,
sometimes I'm not sure that's a good thing because it's your career at the end
hmm
of the day.
hmm
And having a really good agent, I think, is in your corner is really helpful. But at the end of the day, you make the decisions about your career.
mm,
You decide if you're going to take that job. You decide if you're going to do that audition. And I think sometimes there is a mindset where actors almost disempower themselves. And they go, oh gosh, if my agent goes on maternity leave, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. And you're like, no, you can still audition. You can
You
still
can,
go to auditions. They're
you
going to
can
get
still do it.
maternity cover. When they give you an audition, you still do it. Um, and I think that's kind of sometimes, if I think about it from their point of view, that's what's going on. Maybe there's a, rather than disempowering themselves, just going, well, okay, cool.
Hmm.
My agent's going on maternity leave. Great for her.
Yeah.
Um, when you get back in 6 months, hopefully I'll have booked a few jobs I'm going to tell you about.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And and rather than feeling like um things are being taken from you, just go, is this an opportunity for me to like spend the next 6 months? What am I going to develop when they get back?
Hmm.
What am I going to do? You know,
Exactly.
so yeah, no, it always makes me sad, those stories, both for the agents, but also for the actors themselves, because I'm just like, you're disempowering yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing you mentioned was you love actors who work for themselves,
Mm.
and you really like it when they create their own stuff. And I think that brings me to my next question is what's like like you say, every agent is different, but how do you like to work with your clients, and how would you like your clients to work for themselves?
Yeah, I think there is also a temptation in the industry where when you get an agent or when you get that big agent from the big agency, oh God, I can stop. It's all going to be fine. And that can't be further from the truth, because at the end of the day, it's about you. They pick you.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry, but all those lies about if you have United agents next to your little spotlight profile or Curtis Brown, if you're not any good, it ain't gonna make a bit of difference. You have to be good.
Yes.
And so the clients I work really well with are the ones that have that confidence, that vision for themselves. They're always working on themselves. They know what they want. They know what they're doing to get it.
Hmm.
I work with them in a way where they go, okay, there's a fork in the road. Do I go A or do I go B? What's the pros and cons of each? And I talk this through with them. What could I do if I want to go A? How do I make sure that path is a success?
Hmm.
And we have conversations like that, and I kind of steer them in the right direction, but they have to do the work because I can't go to the acting classes. I
Hmm.
can't go to the auditions, you know,
Hmm.
um, can't do it for them. And yeah, my clients who are the most successful, they are the ones that really take the reins in their hands and they go, this is my career.
Hmm.
Where am I going? And I enable them to make the best decisions that they can at the time with the information that we have.
Hmm.
And it's it's about them having the drive and me kind of helping light the match sometimes, or giving them a piece of information maybe they didn't know that will inform the next decision, or which way that they're driving. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my ideal. And I think sometimes the conversation sometimes gets so lost in like, oh, um, I have to get this agent, otherwise nothing's gonna happen. And it's just like, well, yes, agents do certain things,
Hmm.
but after you get an agent, is your show reel up to date? Do your headshots look like you?
Hmm.
Um, have you is your CV up to date?
Yeah.
Have you told your agent when you're not available so they're not pitching you for jobs where you're when you're on holiday?
Yeah.
I can't do that. You have to.
Yeah. You have to do all that. I could
Yeah.
imagine. I mean, has that happened to you? You've rang people up and say, "I think, yeah, this is great. There's a casting for you next Wednesday, 10 in the morning, this location." Oh, I'm on holiday. I forgot to tell you.
It happens to everyone. Look, none of us are perfect.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I'm kind of like, well, just minimize it and get in the habit of,
Mm.
knowing where you're going to be, communicating to everyone that you work with. Um, and things will work out much better because then you waste less time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm going, so you got a self-tape, but just double checking that these dates are great. Oh, I can't do the job. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
What's that? Did you fill out your tag, man? But look, everyone makes mistakes from time to time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. Sometimes I do get clients where they're like, I've had a last minute doctor's appointment. I can't move it. I'm
Mm.
so sorry. I haven't had a chance to tell you about that yet. And I'm like, go to the doctor's appointment.
Yeah. Just
That's a
go to the doctor.
no-brainer.
Fine.
Like, that's absolutely fine. Like, I will report back if there's a chance for you to rearrange or do another session or send a tape instead of doing it in person. I'll let you know, but let's not worry about it.
Mm.
You go to your doctor's appointment.
Yeah. Your health
Like,
comes first. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, we're not. I would hope we're not in a business where we're like, no, no, it's fine. I'll live. I would hope in 2024.
Yeah.
No.
Of all times, of all times. So here you're talking about that. Actually, no, I'll come back to that in a second. We spoke, but before about and I was on a webinar actually with someone called Tabitha. She's from Simon and Howe Associates, and she told stories about how some of her clients could be stranded like, abroad, or they could be stranded in wherever, the UK or wherever. Basically, they have to be somewhere, say it's London, but they're trapped in Madrid and their flight's been cancelled, not once, but twice, but three times. And then I was surprised to say that then they rang their agent to try and say, how do I get home? And it's like, I remember thinking, wait, how's the agent going to help you get home? Anyway, they're not flying the plane. I mean, how does that work exactly?
Um, actually have been very lucky. I haven't had many of those calls. Most of the
Yeah,
time, it's my client informing me that that's happening, but they've got it.
right.
They've phoned production. Their production is trying to, the production coordinator is trying to help them get on their flight or train or anything. They're like, but I'm just letting you know in case you hear from production, I don't want you to freak out. Um,
I'm okay.
I'm okay,
Yeah.
firstly. Secondly, you're okay because I'm just communicating this to you and there is going to be a solution. Um, and I always really appreciate that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people as they're coming up, when something like that happens to you, you just go into panic, don't you? And you just like,
Mm.
oh God, what do I do?
Help.
What's the first competent person I know? My agent. Okay. Um, but sometimes that comes from a good place. But as I found that as like people grow and they deal with these situations in a better way, you know, they figure out, okay, what are my options? Okay, yeah, I should inform my agent because this impacts them and also like on a lot of these packed equity contracts where it's like which day you shoot or whatever, it affects the
Mm.
compensation, the invoicing and stuff like that. Um, should probably tell them
Yeah.
that is a definitely a good thing to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, things happen and an actor's life or a creative's life, like in our business, it interacts more with our working professions
Mm.
than other professions. And I think we have to acknowledge that
Yeah.
and deal with it when it comes up.
Hmm.
But I think we have a responsibility on both sides that when it comes up, that we deal with it in a professional and productive way.
Hmm. Exactly. That's all it takes, really. You spoke earlier about working with your clients and them thinking for themselves in a way. And I've heard stories about people who find like the casting, or they go to the casting director first, or they find a casting breakdown or something. So they hear about a project not from yourself, but through their own methods. Have you ever had experiences of clients coming up to you saying, "Look, I've heard that such and such is making X, Y, and Z. I think I'd be really good for this part, Brian or Julie or whatever it is. I think I'd be really good for this part in this theater or in this film. Could you put me up for it?" Is that a conversation you have a lot?
Yeah, and then I always say, all right,
Hmm.
pitch it to me. Because if you can't pitch it to me
Okay.
when I get you the audition or the meeting, what are you going to do when you're in front of the director?
Yeah. So how? So what other? So how do you do that? How do you get your clients to pitch it to you? What sort of questions do you like to ask?
Well, I just go, say, tonight you're going out to dinner at Soho House. You run into the director. You're in the lift together. 10 seconds. What do you want him to know? Or what do you want her to know?
God.
Go. And you get some like quite funny things out of this, but no, genuine
Yeah.
um takeaway. So in business, we always had this thing called the elevator pitch, and we actually did play this game where we were
Mm,
like, so um you meet a potential client, they're considering a proposal. What do you say to them? You have 10 seconds as the lift goes up.
mhm.
And it's actually quite a good thing to think about. You go, what am I about? How can I contribute uniquely to this project? Am I the right person for this project? And how do I say that succinctly? And I think it's a really, really good exercise. And it's something that I talk to my clients about. And one of the things I'm doing in my new business is I coach people in the industry to talk about their personal brand, how they develop a narrative. And yeah, you have to have all sorts. You have to be able to go out there and put yourself forward in a reasonable professional way that makes sense to other people, not just your mom. And I have these skills, I can contribute in this way. What are you working on? Oh, that sounds really interesting. Have you thought about, this, and how to have a conversation about it and not just focus on you? And I think that is an art, and you have to learn that in every single business, not just this one.
Mm,
And I think sometimes we do forget that these things, even casting, it is a dialogue.
yeah.
It's a two-sided conversation. It's not a one-sided conversation. So how are you in your part of the conversation? How are you going to contribute?
Mm. How do you do that in 10 seconds though?
Oh, it depends. It depends on the job, and it depends on you and what your superpower is.
Hmm.
It really does depend.
Yeah. Imagine if someone's superpower is saying a million words in 10 seconds, although that'd just be noise, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, and then you have to think about if someone's capable of listening to all those words. And the answer is probably not.
That's a very good point. Very good point. But yeah, 10 seconds. Wow. You've got Ridley Scott next to you. He wants you to be the lead in Napoleon or Gladiator 2. Bloody hell. How do you sum
Yeah,
that up in 10 seconds?
but maybe it's not about that in the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not about getting there overnight.
Mm, that's very true.
Maybe the first time you meet him, it's like, hey, big fan of Napoleon. Really liked what you did with that one scene.
Mm,
I mean, if I met him, I'd just be like, my favorite part about Napoleon was the Pomeranian.
mm, yeah.
I
I think,
think sometimes we shouldn't be so focused on, I have to get something.
yeah.
I have to be transactional.
Mm,
Um, it's about building a relationship, finding a common ground. Sometimes it can be really silly. Sometimes,
mm,
and we shouldn't look at every interaction. I'm going to get something out of it at this moment.
yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, it's so important, like in life in general, the little things go a long way, you know, and even though it's just like a fleeting moment, 10 seconds, gone, but
Mm.
yet somehow it still sticks,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we've all had those experiences where someone said one really good thing to us and yet they just disappear, but yet it still plays on. And I'm just thinking about there, if I was in the elevator with Ridley Scott and I only had 10 seconds, I would turn to him and say, Gladiator is a masterpiece. That final scene just breaks my heart every time. Done. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've expressed your appreciation. He thinks you're not a weirdo.
Yeah.
Tick.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean, one way to like never see Ridley Scott again is get yourself arrested.
Yeah, I think that would give a bad impression. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So you get arrested out in the street. Oh, hey, I've got an audition for you in 10 minutes. Okay, no, don't bother, mate. Don't bother. I don't have troublemakers in this business. But it's interesting, yeah, about how just 10 seconds and you've got that. Sorry, that's going around in my head now. 10 seconds, and yet you've got to have this thing. It's great. Anyway, but that's a good lead on to your own business because you've now gone independent. You're not with
Mhm,
United anymore. You've
mhm.
had a really good run with them. Was it 11 years you were with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now you are going it alone, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, like going back to like the hair and makeup stuff and all the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. Like, I mean, one of the brilliant things about United that I will always be grateful for is the platform they gave me
Of course.
to talk about these things and to try and make an impact. But,
Mm,
and, I think when I first started doing DEI work, it was the middle of the pandemic, you know, I'd never done anything like that before. And I think one of the reasons that I've decided to come out and start my own business is because I've realized that, we need to spend actual time in fixing these things. And sometimes when you are running a million miles an hour, doing the day to day, and I had like a full list of clients, I was like, you know, life was great, but it was also very hectic. And sometimes that does not lend itself
hmm
to actually trying to change some of these things that have been around in the industry for years. So, and having the conversations that you need to have. So I started on my own. I have a very small list, much, much smaller than I had at United. I have 12 clients at the moment, and it's a very, very small list. But I'm combining that with my consulting business and a coaching business because one of the things that made me really sad about how the industry works is you can't represent everyone, can you?
No,
You can't help everyone,
no, unfortunately not.
but I'd like to help more people. I would. And I think one of the things that I thought about quite a lot was access to information. And I mean, one of the things I do try to do as often as I can
hmm
is get out there on Twitter, on social, on podcasts like this, and try to spread the word and give good information to people so that they can also make good decisions. And my clients will get that information, of course, because I work with them.
hmm
But I do feel like sometimes um, when you go, oh, but you can only get this information if you're represented by me, is that a lot of times I was like, oh God, everyone should have this information. Um, so yeah, so my consulting business, I'm going to do diversity, equity, inclusion consulting for um, arts businesses and other businesses who want to look at that and want to make changes in their organization. And then the coaching bit, people who want career guidance, because I think sometimes the traditional agency model doesn't quite work for everyone. Because if your agent has a lot of clients, they might not have the time to be able to actually sit down and think about, okay, what's your next step?
hmm
Um, and that's not anybody's fault. Like that's just how the industry works. And sometimes, like especially with creatives, who are starting out, they'll do like one job a year. And then the rest of the time it's about where's the next job. And sometimes you just want to go, well, how do I make these decisions? How do I pitch my projects? Um, what should that headshot be?
Mm.
How should I organize the spotlight CV? If I were to do an elevator pitch, how would I construct that? How do I think about my brand, my superpowers? And so, yeah, the coaching and the mentoring sessions that I do now, I'm getting people inquiring about them, and I'm just like, yes. So now I will have the time to do those sessions where it's completely focused on you for that hour. And, that's for people who can pay, and I have a sliding scale for depending on what people can afford. But then for people who can't afford it, yes, I'm going to do podcasts and I'm going to do conversations on social. I'm going to do Instagram lives so that at every level you have accessibility
Hmm.
to the right information. Because I do think sometimes in this industry, we get into that hole of like, there's a conspiracy theory. And then I heard that you can only get this job if you're only with this certain agent, and you can only do this if that. And you just go, no, you don't have the right information.
No,
That's not how it works.
no.
So yeah, part of the reason I've gone independent is like I want to kind of, how do I make things more accessible? How do I make information and knowledge more accessible to everybody?
Mm.
So yeah, it's a grand big ask, I think. But yeah, I'm hopeful, and I'm really I'm really interested in all the new people that I'm meeting and having conversations with, and I think it's going to be a fascinating journey.
Yeah, I'm sure you're more than capable of doing great things with this. Absolutely, I'm sure. So, with this, with us talking now, what is your message to the world with this new business?
Get involved. It's my vote with your feet thing.
Mm.
Ollie, if you can do one thing for me, will you do this for me?
Yeah,
Will you go to a Mac store and get your foundation code and give it
yeah,
to your agent and get
absolutely,
them to put it in Tagman?
absolutely.
Everyone, do this. Do this. If you can do one thing, do this. Let's normalize this.
Hmm.
Everyone, even if you are white Caucasian, there's different shades of white Caucasian.
Oh yeah,
So let's normalize this. Everyone, we have our own unique, unique skin color, and we should all be catered for when we go to work
yeah,
and be able to look our best. So yes, all to all your listeners, to you. So Ollie's going to go be getting
yeah, yeah,
his foundation code.
yeah.
I want everyone else listening to this podcast to do it. If you want to, you can tweet me when you've done it
Hmm.
and tell me
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I would
It's down
love
below.
that.
It's down below in the description, guys. Check it out. Yeah, I'll get it done. I'll get it done. I promise. Because you just that is again, like, and I don't mean to say this is a small thing, but you've created something that not a lot of people are thinking about, and you've made it actually very, very, very real and very big in a way to say that some people have suffered abuse simply because of hair and makeup as a result,
Mm.
but it's gone further to the point where people are you know racially abused in a way simply because of this. And like the feeling I got from you there was that you're on a mission to not only just change that part of the industry, but to make it a lot more inclusive and ultimately to make it a better place for everyone. And I think it's I feel like this industry has been through the ringer, particularly over the last couple of years, obviously not just because of because of Me Too, because of COVID, because of the SAG strike last year. It feels like it's become like this big punching bag, and it's taken a lot of hits over the last few years. But now, thankfully, and touch wood, we are in a good place to sort of keep going forward and make it a lot more secure. And it starts with the great work that you're doing. So I think me, my listeners, and everyone around the world owes you a great deal of thanks for that.
Well, I haven't done it on my own. Like there's the
Of
six
course.
other diverse squad girls. There's Spotlight. There's the wonderful people at L'Oreal and
Hmm.
MAC Cosmetics. And I'm thankful to every one of them and all of you who are now going to go get your code and
Hmm.
get that in the system. We're going to all do this together. And that's the really important thing.
Mm. Amen. With this thing, you've obviously creating this movement and everything. So you're still representing actors. You're still representing people, aren't you?
Yeah, so I have about 50% actors and 50% creatives.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're clients who have been with me for a super long time, and I know them really well, and they know me really well. Um, yeah, I think it's really important to keep doing the work and staying at the coalface. So yeah, I think to change it, you have to be a part of it. And, and that's really important to me.
Yeah. No, one thing you mentioned in the well, actually in the bio at the beginning is that you really want people to embrace how they have more than one string to their bow. It's like you really want
Mm.
people to engage in more than one aspect of their career. So someone could be good at acting, but you want them to be also be good at, like, for example, dancing, or they're good at singing, or they're a singer who can also dance and maybe act as well and become a triple threat in a way. What excites you about working with people who have got more than one talent or more than one string to their bow?
I think it's not just the people with multiple talents, because we all have multiple talents,
Of
but it's
course, yes.
about leaning in who you are. And some people, actually, some people I represent, they're really, really, really insanely good at one thing.
Mm,
And they're well lopsided rather than well rounded. But knowing who you are and making the most of that, I think that's the most important thing. Whoever you are, whether you are a writer and also a performer, whether you are a director and also an actor, whether you are just an actor, whether you only do screen acting or you only do theater acting or you think of yourself as a theater maker. I think it's about finding that purpose, knowing why you do it, knowing how you're also articulating that mission to the world and what are you contributing. I think
mm,
that is what it comes down to. Some people, they have like three things they want to contribute. Okay.
mm,
Some people, they have one major thing. And sometimes it's not related all to the performing. For some people, it is they're great at acting in dramas. They're also really great at networking
mm,
and talking to people about the sort of work that they want to do. And on top of that, they're really great at being an excellent human being. So it doesn't always have to be connected to, yes, I can sing, I can act, I can dance, and I can do this other thing, and I can stand on my head and I can juggle. I think sometimes, especially when I speak to drama schools, you get that thing where drama grads go, well, I can be whatever you want. Like, well, that's not the point. It's not being whoever anyone else wants, it's being who you want.
yeah.
Who are you? Who do you want to be? What do you want to contribute? What do you want to give back? How are you going to make this this industry different from where it was before? I think that's the real key.
Mm. No, it's very true. I mean, I've been caught up in it as well. People say, what can you bring to the table? And I was like, well, yeah, I can do this. I can learn my lines really well. I can speak them. I was like, yeah, okay, calm down, calm down. But yeah, everyone can do that, right? That's good. That's a given. But yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, ultimately, it feels a lot more simpler than I thought it was going to be, and I mean that in a good way, of course. But simply just it's all about just expressing yourself and just being truthful to yourself, and that's something I learned a lot when I was there. Is that we overcomplicate things, we overthink things. We have to think that we have to be the like if we're an artist, we have to make the next Mona Lisa. It's like I put all my effort into this, or I have to be like Anthony Hopkins, or I have to be like Benedict Cumberbatch in a way, or I have to be like Andrew Scott. But as we said at the top of today, we've already got those. We've already got the Mona Lisa and everything. So, you're not the Mona Lisa. You're not Bradley Cooper. You're not Benedict Cumberbatch. You are you. So that's not to say that you as a person can't be up there with them as well. And that's something I say to myself all the time, which is just embrace who I am more than anything, and just love what you do. So people say, "Oh, I'm an actor and a podcaster," because the reason why I do it is because I love hearing from people. I like hearing from people in the business who've done fantastic work, who from all aspects of this industry, not just actors. I'm not that singular, but I love talking to people like yourself about, and plus I've learned so much for you already about the side of an agent, which I knew nothing about. I didn't know that, you look at contracts and there's an issue with something like the hair and makeup, or a client will ring you up and say, look, I'm trapped in Madrid, or you say, look, I need you to go to this audition next week. but I'm in the Bahamas, mate. And it's like, well, okay, I didn't know that. Just let me know when you're available next time, you know. And yeah, and I hope that I remember thinking about this the other day. Actually, if I can help just one person change something, then that makes me happy. That makes me happy that I gave one person that inspiration to do that. And yeah, I think that's a good thing to do.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked before about self-representation in a way. And so how would you encourage actors to self-represent?
I think there's an awful lot that you're able to do. And also you should never stop representing or advocating for yourself just because you have an agent.
Hmm.
You should always be your own best advocate. Because you know yourself the best. You are actually the expert on yourself. Um, no one is as much of an expert on you as you are. Other people can help and tell you about your blind spots or where things that you're not like actually seeing it properly. But there's a lot of things that you can do. I have a Twitter thread that I wrote during the pandemic about how to advocate and represent
Yeah.
yourself. And a lot of it is about just looking at what you have, making sure that what you're putting out there is what you're intending to put out there. And it's all coherent. And one of the very good exercises that I sometimes have my clients do is like, okay, pretend you're a casting director. Um, Look at your spotlight. Great. Then if you're a casting director and you're like, I wonder what they're like. What do? You Google them.
Yeah.
So what comes up when you get Googled? Is it consistent with what you're trying to put forward in your spotlight and what you're trying to put forth as a person?
Yeah.
And this is something you can absolutely do. And you go, oh gosh, I didn't realize that like those holiday photos were up there or these and and then, you know, you can start thinking about, okay, how do I communicate what I'm about and putting more of the stuff that I'm about out there rather than
Mhm.
inadvertently things kind of leaking out and oh there's that video of me from the birthday party and there's this random thing I've done like about 20 years ago and then there's these random headshots of me that aren't my current headshots. It- like yes, I understand there's parts of the internet you're not going to be able to change, but you can also make an effort that what's the shots that are, for example, on your social bios
Mm.
are up to date and are of similar professional quality to the ones you have on Spotlight.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. But there are things that you can do that I think lots of people overlook. And yeah, just I would do that. Like have a Google of yourself. What do you find? Is this in keeping with the brand and what you want to put out there?
Mm.
And if it's not, how are you going to change it?
Exactly. Exactly. I remember I got caught out once. I went to a workshop and my spotlight was there, and I selfish, well, not selfish, but stupidly, it's been taken down since. Said that I used to play pool, and I thought, well, I have done it maybe once or twice, but I'm no master at it. And it was with Faye Timby actually, who's a casting director for The Witcher, and she brought it up when I did my bit, and she went, "Oh, I see that you play pool, Ollie." And I was like, what?" So, it says here you play pool on your spotlight, and I thought, right, okay, yeah, that shouldn't be there. So it happens. It happens. I remember I looked down the barrel of the camera to everyone in the room, and went, "I should probably take that off." Yeah.
Well owned up to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But thankfully, I have, and it's all up to date now, so it's okay. But no, but you get caught out on these things. I'd like to hear your stories. Have you ever sat down with someone and you've caught them out in a way? If someone said that they can do something or they've been a part of something, and they've actually just been making it up.
No, it's more like, oh, I forgot about that. I put that on there during drama school because I thought what they meant was this. And I haven't changed it in 6 years. It's usually something like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, or yeah, so my mate asked me if I could do a Birmingham accent. I was like, yeah, I kind of could. And then so yeah, we were like drunk one night and so we like put that on my spotlight and then I forgot to take it down the next day.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, yeah, I did think I never heard you do a northern accent, but just the good thing I asked before I put you up for something
Oh,
because I hadn't seen
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
before. Yeah, most of the things are like unintentional. I haven't yet met anyone who's like intentionally lied, but I mean, why would you do that anyway? Because it's like job interviews, the one where they're like, so I see that you speak fluent Chinese. How would you say this in Mandarin? You don't want that. An audition is a
No.
job interview.
Oh
If you
no.
say you can juggle, why give yourself that extra stress? You go in the room, well, it says you can juggle on here, expert level. Here you go, 3 balls, off you go. Why would you give yourself that extra stress?
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, just tell the truth. Simple.
Like it's still better to be yourself than like a fictional version.
Hmm. Yeah, because eventually that facade does wear out and you will be caught out eventually.
And why stress yourself out like that?
Exactly. And I can't imagine the stress.
Like
Uh,
life in our industry is stressful enough as it is.
yeah,
Like let's not try and create more problems.
no. In fact, that was a question for you actually. Obviously, again, you've gone independent, got a smaller group now. But with those 11 years that you were at United, and you've got a big client base, got the phones ringing off the hook. Talk me through like how did you get through some of the busiest days or the days that were like the most demanding for you?
Oh gosh, my wonderful colleagues.
Mm,
And big shout out to my assistant of 6 years, Charlotte Edwards. I mean, that woman, I could not have gotten through a single day without her. Like
mm,
the camaraderie, we worked together, like we were such a team. I'm never going to have any other working relationship like it. And I know that's what it's going to be. And she cared about the clients as much as I did. And I loved every day, whether it was talking to her about the Wicked movie. She texted me this morning about the new trailer and we gossiped about it.
right.
Um, or it was, hey, so and so has got this self-tape for Outlander. It's really exciting. Um, should we put them up for this? Are they available for that? And yeah, life as an agent anywhere is so super busy. And I think it's about all the people that you deal with, that you interact with, that make the difference. And working with her every day was always such a joy. And we'd like cheer each other up or like send each other memes and stuff. And yeah, and our clients as well, the number of wonderful clients that just made it a joy to work with them every day. And
Mm.
we would all celebrate when they got a job and we were like, oh my God, yeah, that paid off. Going down path A
Hmm.
is it's starting to work out and you held your nerve and that was the right thing to do.
Mm.
Yeah, all of those things. But yeah, it's about the humans
Yeah.
and the kindness and the interactions. And that's what gets you through.
Mm. It's a big team game, isn't it? So well, like I said earlier, so you're not going it alone as such in this new thing. You are with a team and you are around people to sort of help you sort of build your brand and help to bring these issues to light and everything. But out of curiosity, I've been in touch with United a few times to like podcast requests and agent and representation requests. What was it like? What's United like as an agency? What was your experience of it?
Oh gosh. Like every one of my colleagues
Mm,
were different and they had different things that they did, different things they were interested in. Every conversation I had with a colleague was extremely interesting. But at the end of the day, like I just loved working with them. And they're all normal people. We're all humans. I think lots of people build it up in their heads that like big agencies are like this or like that. But at the end of the day, we're still going to work every day,
Yeah.
same as everybody else. We have
Mm.
clients like everybody else. Um, yeah, I mean, it is busy. But any agent at any agency with a full list of clients, they'll experience that. I think sometimes, it's back to that thing again with like the myths in the industry, like, oh, I heard United's really like this, and there's something really magical about what they know. We're just hard workers, and you know, we we show up every day, we try to do our best, and then we go home again to our families, and then we
Yeah.
come back and try again the next day.
Just like everybody else. Just like everybody
Yeah.
else. I think I'm one thing you mentioned about when you did that interview with Ross at Act on This TV was that exact same thing, which was, people look at us and think, oh, we're like, they think we're all in golden robes or walking around with our elite client lists and everything, and we represent the best in the business, getting constant work. But actually, no, we're just regular people. We're just regular people, just going to work and doing what we love to do more than anything else.
Yeah, and our clients have the same problems. You don't stop having issues with the industry, or you don't magically just start getting work all the time just because you're at United. Our clients, like my clients, suffered from the same thing, you know, that other actors suffered from, that who are with different agents who are just as qualified, just as knowledgeable. And it's like we're all still trying to do the same thing at the end of the day.
Mm,
And that's the other thing. And I've spoken to Ross about this, and now you, but why disempower yourself and put that power in the hands of something mythical? Oh, if I only were with an agent at a big agency, then these problems wouldn't exist. No, problems always exist.
mm.
So what are you going to do with what you've got?
Yeah. Can I ask, what was the biggest obstacle that you faced as an agent, and how did you get through it?
I do think it is this, like, these inequalities in this hair and makeup thing,
Mm,
because it's just like you, when you heard about it,
yeah.
it boggles my mind
Yeah.
that we're in the same industry where people are trying to do the same job, and they have vastly, vastly different experiences. And it's not intentional either. I don't think anyone in the industry, it didn't become like this because people are like, oh, we really want to make sure these people don't get the same good experience. It's not like that. It's just how it's evolved. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, just being like, well, these things happen,
Mm,
and I can't do anything about it myself,
mm,
but everyone together, we can do something. We can
mm.
shine a light on it. We
Yeah.
can talk about it. We can change it.
Mm. We're a force to be reckoned with. We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, together stronger, as they say. Just got a few more things for you today, Mildred. Just before we finish, I suppose one question is, what being an agent and representing all people from all different backgrounds and creative talents and everything. What was it about this job that makes you the happiest? What is it about this job that gives you the most joy?
I think it's when a client, they have that moment of realization, and they might have been struggling for a few years, like, not been able to crack it,
Mm,
changing the headshot, shuffling around the show reel, like, struggling. And you always know when it happens, when they accept themselves and it clicks for them, and they see themselves the way I see them and their potential. That's the best thing.
mm,
And you talked about relaxation at the beginning of the podcast, the relaxation, that flow state you get into when you fully accept who you are,
mm,
what you can do, what you want to do. Um, that's the best. Those moments when you go, oh, you finally see yourself. And that can happen also at any time. Sometimes it is a big moment on stage when you see someone step into the shoes and become who they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a really great self-tape and they didn't get the job, but you knew that was the moment that they found something,
Mm.
and it'll be the next job that they book. Sometimes you're talking to them about something else and they're like, "Oh my God, I've just realized something." So it can happen at any time, but for me, like I'm like, I want to walk alongside you. I want to reflect back to you who you are and what I see in you.
Mm.
And I want you to embrace that
Mm.
and take control of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that's for me.
Yeah.
That's that's the best
Yeah. I do. I do.
thing.
I do. Fantastic. Just the last two questions for you today. First of all, just before we get into them, thank you so much. This has been an amazing talk, and I've absolutely loved talking to you. I've followed you on, from United Agents for all these years, thinking, oh God, it would be amazing to be represented by someone like Mildred. And the fact that we're here today, you, on my show, just it's beyond something I never thought I'd be able to. I'd have this conversation with you when I started this a few years ago. So yeah, this has been a special episode for me. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh no, you're welcome back for a part two. We still have lots more to talk about. So the final two questions are: what would you say was a piece of advice that you wish you'd heard when you were starting in this business, that you'd heard right at the beginning?
I wouldn't change my path because you can only learn things
Of
as
course.
fast as you learn them.
Mm.
And okay, we always wish that like I knew that sooner or I made that change sooner. But you also learn so much from your mistakes. But yeah, maybe it's that. It's about like embracing your mistakes as much as embracing the high points because we all have the low points. And I think there is a bias in this industry to being like, oh my God, I got that job, rather than being like, no, sometimes it's not so great. Like the pandemic wasn't so great for any of us. The strike
No.
wasn't so great for any of us.
Yeah.
And so what do we do in those times to keep going? And it's okay to talk about those things. Um, and yeah, I think that is, if there was one thing that I did earlier, I wish I did done earlier or learned earlier,
Mm.
it's that bit, and then don't have to be perfect all the time, but actually there's a lot to be had from talking about when things don't always go right. And then you can move on to how do you fix that?
Mm. Everything is figure outable, I think, as
Yep.
someone said. Yeah. Brilliant. No, I like that. When you said, look, I wouldn't, I mean, obviously you said that, but I wouldn't change anything because you learned along the way and you
Mm.
are where you are now because of what happened and everything. No, I like that. That's
Yeah.
really good. I like that a lot. And finally, today, what's been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to this point that you're never ever going to forget?
I mean, I did think about this a lot because I know you asked this of all of your guests
I
on
do.
on your podcast. And I'm just like, oh God, but there's just like there's so many. And like you always have like new ones like every year
Yeah.
as well. Um, but I think there's definitely nothing that compares to when you go through like a long negotiation or a long process and you achieve something for a client, um, whether that be hair and makeup equity or um, a rise in their weekly pay,
Mm.
or they're acknowledged as a named character rather than a non-named character on the bill. There's still nothing like that feeling when you go, I've made a difference today.
Brilliant. And I think you're going to continue to make huge differences, and all for the better. And I can't wait to see what you do with this new adventure later on. And yeah, yeah, lost for words. Mildred, thank you so much for today. This has been amazing.
Thank you. And everyone get their Mac Foundation
Yes.
code
Mac
and tweet
Foundation.
me.
Guys, Mildred's Twitter is down below, guys. You tweet her as soon as you get it. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording and we'll have a little debrief afterwards. And yeah, still, we'd love to have you back. Let's do a part 2 in the future. We'd love to do it. But for all that's left for me to say is, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast, and I will be back very, very soon. And for now, Mildred Yuan, it's so close. Mildred Yuan, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for having me. See you soon.